Okay, so it's time to go over the Logic Pro X layout. So we're going to start from here, and we're going over these sections here, down here, then here, and up here. And then we're going to go over what's in the middle here, basically. So first of all, I'm going to make Logic Pro X in the advanced view, because Logic Pro X always comes in default of more like a GarageBand setting, and we do want to have Logic Pro X in the same. It should be in the Logic Pro X setting as Logic Pro X is built for. So we're going to Logic Pro X, Preferences, and Advanced Tools. And you can see the little wood panel here. That indicates that it is in the kind of simple mode. And as you can see here, Show Advanced Tools, it enables advanced features, including project alternatives and backups. Backups is really good to have. I have lost a ton of different projects with the previous version of Logic when it didn't have automatic backups. So just for that, you want the advanced tools enabled. You have stuff like beat mapping, expanded mixing and automation capabilities, additional editors and browsers, and more. So it's really good to have. Let's check that in like that. And yeah, so now we can just browse around here. We're going to have the quick help button enabled, and that just makes everything a little yellow alert with some information of what's going on or what we have selected here. So we're going to start with the library button, and it says load patches and presets for the selected channel strip or plugin type. Start playing immediately. Loading a patch can affect multiple channel strips. All right, so what that does is that we're getting this window here, which is the library, and it says load and save patches, plugin presets, or EXS instruments based on the selected channel strip slot. Loading a patch can affect multiple channel strips. So yeah, it's the same thing. So what this does is that it is all of the sounds that we have downloaded within the Logic Pro X sound libraries. So let's say we want piano, a Steinway grand piano. Then we have the piano sound loaded in. So now if I press Command K to bring up our musical typing window, which enables us to play with our computer built-in keyboard, then we get a sound. Like that. And this is just a sampler plugin. It's loaded with some different effects, and the effects are made by the guys who made Logic. So yeah, they are customized really good for being used in an end product or a project file. So it's simple as that. You can just browse around here, you can search sounds, and it's really easy to get along with that. You can also make your own sound if you're into that, and making your own sounds and stuff, and then you can save it and you will find it later on in the library. So let's go to the inspector, and the inspector is just a brief information of what you have in your track here. So this is a track. This is the track that we have loaded up here. And this inspector will show us exactly what we have in this track. So first of all, we have the region inspector, and right now it's showing MIDI through because we don't have any region in the workspace. So if we create an empty region, as you see here, MIDI region, a container for note and controller events. drag the middle to move, the lower edges to resize, and the upper right edge to loop. Use the tools to perform other edits. Okay, so the region is just containing our MIDI data in the piano roll here. So let's say we want to draw in stuff, then all of our stuff is going into the MIDI region. And in the inspector, now we have a MIDI region called Steinway Grand Piano, and it's also saying Steinway Grand Piano instead of MIDI through as it did before. So this is the region inspector. Use these settings to determine the playback behavior of one or more selected regions. So if you have more regions, let's say we have one more here and one more here, then we can select all of them, and these settings are going to affect all of them. So let's say we do it like that. We can mute that region from here. We can loop that region from here. It didn't do that now because we have other stuff in the way. But let's say we have it like that. You can loop that like that. You can quantize our MIDI data that is in here from this region. You can transpose it. You can do a lot of stuff. You can press more and you will have even more options. And if you have this help button on, quick help button, then you can read on exactly what everything does here. So it's really cool to read up on that. You can do it like that. Then you have the track, and this is for the whole track, not just for this MIDI region, but it's going to affect all of the MIDI regions in this track. And here you can choose icon. For instance, let's say we want, this is a piano sound, so let's say we want another piano like that, and you can do it like this. All right, so then you have the next section here in the channel strip, as I call it, and in the inspector, of course. You have the left inspector channel strip, which says use to control the signal of the selected track without having to open the mixer. So basically what this is, all of this from here to here, is just the mixer section of this track. So you don't have to open up the mixer just to see this track's mixer section. So you're getting it right here, which is very convenient to have. All right, so a very good rule to have here in the mixer, how Logic mixers work, is that the signal comes from up here. So it goes from here through this one, through this, and all of these effects, buses, and out to the stereo out. Then it's routed from this button here up to the next one on the right side. So whatever you have, choose here. Let's say stereo out or no output, for instance, then you will get no output. Or a bus, then let's say we choose bus 9, then you will get bus 9 here. So let's choose stereo output, because stereo output is our speakers. And then we're going to get the stereo out signal from here up here through this and out to your speakers. Okay, so first one in the mixer section is setting button. It says load and save channel strip settings, which contains setup information for a channel strip, including plugins. So what this does is the same thing as in the library. So if we choose random sound and let's say piano and upright bass, then we have a setting here. So if we press here, you will have the same thing. This is basically exactly the same as opening up the library, but in this view. So setting here is the same thing as library. Then you have something called gain reduction meter. It shows the gain reduction of the first compressor plugin. If no compressor is inserted, it shows the gain reduction of an inserted limiter or adaptive limiter plugin. So if you have a compressor like this one have, then you will see all of this that's going on here, the gain reduction. So if we play this track and if we get gain reduction, this meter will move. So you don't have to really open the compressor to see if the compressor works or if it's working. Then we have the EQ display. Click to add a channel EQ or open an inserted channel or liner phase EQ. Shift click to add a liner phase EQ. Use EQ to shape an audio signal by adjusting the levels of specific frequency ranges. I don't know if you are familiar with EQs, but it is just by double clicking like that and you will get an EQ in this section. This section is, as you see, audio effect slot. So insert an audio effect. Click an occupied slot to open the plugin. Use effects to alter signals in real time. So all of these here, channel EQ, compressor, and if I press here, I can add one more effect. So let's say I want a delay and an echo. It will show up like that. Let's say I want another more. I can add how many I want. But for now, I'm going over the EQ. So let's say I want some different settings here. Like that. So we have our EQ, and now you can see that it's displaying our thumbnail here. So it's the same concept as with the compressor one. I don't have to go into the EQ to see what the EQ does. I can just go to the track itself. Then I see, okay, it's taking away the low end here and some of the high end. There's something going on here. So I don't have to open up the EQ every time I want to see what's going on in the EQ of this track. Next one is send slot. Route the signal to an auxiliary channel strip. Use sends to process or submix multiple track output signals. So let's say I have all of these sounds here and I want a part of this sound go to another bus, let's say the bus 9. Then I can basically do it like this, and it says send level knob, drag vertically to control the amount of signals sent to an auxiliary channel strip. Use sends to process or submix multiple track output signals. So it I can just choose how much of all of this signal I want to another track. So let's say I want half of this piano sound to be even more delay on, but like with a very heavy delay. Let's say I want it like that and a lot of feedback. Then I can just put like half of the piano sound to be more affected of the like extreme echo, and the rest I want to just be like the echo I have here, for example. Then I can also press here to get another send, and I can have how many sends I want. So here's the stereo out, as I said, and it says output slot. Click hold to choose the channel strip output destination where the channel strip signal is sent. So if I click hold, yeah, I can choose wherever I want this to be sent to. And stereo output is, as I said, there's our speakers or the headphone jack on a MacBook. And no output is just no output. You won't get any sound of it. Then you have something called group, which says add the channel strip to a group. You can also define which channel strip controls can be edited for the entire group at the same time. And this group section is not like I use that much. I don't think a lot of users use the group slot here. Logic has a lot better way to group sounds together by doing track stacks, and I will go over that too, of course. So I would not use this group section at all. Then you have this read here. Automation mode pop-up menu. Set how channel strip and plugin changes are handled during recording and playback. So this is for the automation. So let's say I draw some automation in this track. I want this to be, let's say, lower in volume here and here I want this track to have a very high volume, so I automate it by pressing A. I can draw in automation like that, like that. We have a whole automation section for, so I will show you exactly how to automate, but just to show you what this does. So now it's in read mode. It will read whatever it's written in here. And there are some different modes. So let's say touch. Touch is where I can just play, and then I can move some knobs on, let's say, a MIDI keyboard, and then it will record that for us here, so we don't have to draw it out. Then there are some different modes, latch and write, and yeah, as you can see, they are a bit different, but I would say you just have to use read and touch, and that's enough. Latch and write are more complicated, and you don't really have to use it. Write is, for instance, in this case, let's say you have something recorded and you press the write and you record it again, then the changes are made and overridden. But this can mess up your whole project. Let's say you have some complicated settings here, and then you have it on write, and then you start to do something else on your MIDI keyboard, and it will be overridden. So it's not even good to use something else than read and touch. So I'll get back to the read here. This is the pan and balance knob. It says drag vertically to position the channel strip signals in the stereo field. So you can pan however you want to here, just like that. And volume display shows the playback volume. Use the volume fader to set the playback volume of the track signals. So this is just showing how many dBs the volume is in. This is showing the peak level. So yeah, shows the signal peak during playback. A red display on output channel strips indicates signal clipping. To fix, reduce the volume fader by the value shown. So yeah, if it's going into the red here, then you have peaks that are too high, basically. Volume fader, yeah, just a volume fader. Then you have mute button and solo button. Then you have name field, so you can rename your track from here. Yeah, and okay, so we're done with this part here. Let's go through this part. So this is the toolbar button. Show the toolbar, which contains buttons for key functions. So if we press this one, we will have a lot of different shortcuts for different stuff in Logic. And I will go through most of them in this course. So this is just shortcuts, basically. Yeah, I don't think we have to go over exactly what every shortcut does right now, but we are going to go over them later on in the course. So this is the Smart Controls button. Open the Smart Controls area, where you can quickly modify the sound of the current patch without having to edit individual channel strips or plugins. So what this does here is, these are called Smart Controls, and this one, these knobs can be programmed that it is going to use, let's say, 3 or even 4 knobs at a time in a plugin. So let's say you have this echo here. You can program that if you just moving this knob, that can make 2 knobs here work with by just pressing one knob. Okay, so next button is the mixer button. So it says open the mixer, which shows channel strips for each track in the project. You can edit channel strips controls, add and edit plugins, and customize routing options. So this one will basically open up our mixer, and we can just resize it, and you will see all of our mixer settings here. And you can close it by doing like that. Then we have editor tools, and this will open up whatever editing tools there are for this selected region. So say we have an audio region instead of a MIDI region like this, then we will have a file editor open up instead. And of course, I can show you too. This is the piano roll, but we have some other editors too, like Score Editor. Shows notes in a MIDI region as traditional music notation. You can add or edit notes and other musical symbols. So this will show us like that. And then we have Step Editor, which shows notes and controller events in a MIDI region. You can add and edit note velocities or quickly create and edit MIDI drum parts. So this is very cool if you're doing drum parts. Yeah, and then we have these buttons. So this is just rewind button, forward button, go to beginning button, play button, record button, and cycle button. So the cycle button here will turn cycle mode on or off, used to repeatedly play or record over the project section within the yellow cycle area that appears in the ruler. So what it is this one, the cycle area. So if we have this enabled here, then it will repeat. So whatever you have in this area will repeat. So let's say that you want to repeat something in this area, you can just do it like that. And this button will just basically turn that off or on. But you could do it by just pressing this cycle area too. So let's say you want that, you just drag it like this, or you want this section, you can move it like that, or let's say you want it like this, you can do it like that. Then we have this section. It says, playhead position display. Indicates the playhead position in parse, beats, divisions, and ticks. Drag each element vertically to edit it, or double click and enter a new value. So let's say we want to jump to bar 5. We can do it like that. Let's say we want to edit our tempo. We can do it like that. Or we can just drag it up or down. Same thing here, we can just either double click it or just click it and choose. This arrow here will show us different styles of this transport bar here. We can also open up giant display like this. So this is going to be open up all the time. Like that. And you have different options here. You can also customize it. You can add a lot of different stuff here, as you can see. Then we have something called replace. Let's see if there is some help for this. Yes. Replace an existing recording or a portion of it with a new recording. Pretty self-explanatory. Then we have tuner button. Open the tuner, which you can use to tune instruments connected to your system. So for this you need a physical instrument to be connected to your computer. Solo button. Here selected regions only during playback. Counting button. Toggle the counting between the setting defined in record, counting, and none. So right now we can do it like this, and we have counting 1 bar. So counting is basically when you hit record, when you hit this record button, that will, let's say that we want to record from this. So we have the cycle area here. So this will make the recording beginning from bar 4. But if we have counting 1 bar, that will begin the counting from bar 3. So we have a little bit of time to prepare ourselves for the recording. So if you want more time, you can just go to here, recording settings, and you can choose 2 bars or even more. All right, then we have the metronome button. So here I click at the project tempo during playback or recording. Click hold for further options. So you can choose that too. You can customize the metronome, and it's just a basic metronome sound. Like that. Then we have this master volume slider, and I would not really recommend to use this one. I don't really touch this slider because I think that you should use the stereo output fader for the overall volume in your project. And you can find that in the mixer here in the stereo out. And I don't really know why they included the master section here, because this is your master mixer channel, and you can add your master plugins here. You can't add anything to the master here, so I should say ignore this volume slider. Then you have list editors button, so this is saying open the lists area where you can view and edit MIDI events, markers, tempo changes, and signature events. So let's say I have something played in here. Then I will have everything right away. So it will show off exactly every single MIDI note that I have here. And as you can see, I can even see that the first here is in C2. I can change it from here, but it's a lot easier to just change it in piano roll. I can change the velocity. But as you see, you can do it in the velocity right here. So it's basically just kind of place that you can see what everything is in the selected region or regions. Then you have something called marker, and this lists all markers in the project. Use markers for selection, playback, editing, and arrangement tasks. And I will show you more what this is in the arrangement section of this course. Tempo lists all tempo changes and their position in the project. You can add or edit tempo events as you would in the tempo track. So what this does is that it defines the tempo of the track. So let's say you just want one tempo in the track, as most of the tracks are. They are just in one tempo all the time. Then you can just define it here, or you can just define it here. But let's say you want multiple tempos in the track. Let's say you have a track in 120, and then you want in some section that it's only in 80 BPM, for instance. Then you can just add another tempo. You will choose position here. So let's say you want it from this position. You just press enter, and you can choose 80. And it will be in 80, but just from this position. Then it will be 120 here, and it will change to 80, as you can see here. Then we have signature list. It says list the basic keys of the project, including time and key signatures. You can add or edit signature events as you would in the signature track. So same thing here. This is just the key and the time, like the time section here, signature list. And you can change this over time too. So if you want to change the key of the track, you can just check the plus button here, and you can change the key. Okay, so next one is notepads button. It says open the notepads where you can create, view, and edit project and track text notes. So this is just a notepad. You can type whatever you want here. Like that. And this will show on every track, or wherever we are in our track. This will always be shown if we press the notepads button here, because this is our project notepad. But if we just want to comment something on just one track, so let's say we have multiple tracks here, and let's say we want just something, let's say in this section that we don't like, we can just go to the track here, and let's say I want to edit something on bar 8. So let's say bar 8, I didn't like this section at all. So now when I go over this, I wouldn't like get up this text anymore. But let's say I go to this track and I just see the comment for this track here. And you can choose fonts and everything here. Then we have Apple Loops button here. And it says indexing Apple Loops library. So I just recently downloaded all of the Apple Loops to Logic, so it has to index them all. And Apple Loops are just some different sounds, different audio loops, but they are very flexible to use. So they call it Apple Loops. And yeah, they are very easy to use. And I will show you how to make a very basic track just by using those Apple Loops. So let's say we want to do a hip hop track. And these are, by the way, all of our loop packs that are installed on our computer. Let's say we want to do a hip hop track. Let's say we want some synths. So we can just okay, we want this to be in 80 BPM, and we recently changed from this position to be in 80 BPM. So let's choose here and let's get some synth. And by the way, I think you can see all of these arrows here, and these are all of the samples that are not installed on our computer. So this computer, it doesn't have a really like big hard drive, so I didn't want to install them right now. I have to get an external hard drive first. So Logic just installs a few of them here. Let's say I like that one, so I just drag it out like that. Okay, so now I want some kind of drum loop. So just press that to get rid of the synths. Then I go to all drums and just find some nice drum loop. Alright, so let's say I like that one. I just import it. And as you can see that all of the Apple Loops are getting synced with each other. So even though I have 80 as my tempo here, you can see that this beat is, for instance, in the original tempo of 68 BPM. So even as I use 80 BPM, it's still in sync. So the Apple Loops are very, very good for that. Yeah. Okay, so there is our Apple Loops, and if you have any third-party Apple Loops, let's say you downloaded some or bought some sample pack that has Apple Loops, it's that easy that you just get all of them in Finder and select them all and just drag it into this Apple Loops window, and it will show up as Apple Loops as a loop pack here. All right, browsers. So let's get, I don't know why this is showing up. Okay. Open the browser area where you can access audio and other media files. You can also import data and settings from other projects. So we have 3 different browsers here. The first one is the Project Audio browser. So all of these sounds showing up here are sounds that we use right now in our project. We can also press audio file, add audio file, and you will get Finder opened up, and you can search for your sound files and just play them here. You can add them exactly how you would do in the All Files browser, as I will show you just in a few seconds. And yeah, you can even audition them here by pressing. I think that's because we have our quick help button on here. Yeah, so you will have a great overview of the different samples that you have in your project right now. Then we have the media browser. So this says use to find and import songs from your iTunes library and movies from your movies folder. You can also import GarageBand projects. Then we have the All Files here, and it is use to find files, then drag them into the tracks area to add them to your project. You can also import data and settings from other projects. So you can just browse around your computer here and find different audio files. So if you have like audio files on your computer, you can just audition them here. You will have a little kind of auditioning button here, and you can browse around different stuff with that one. And you can also search all of your sample packs. So let's say you have a huge amount of sample packs and you want like a reverb. Then you do it just like that, and you can import one of these sounds. And yeah, it's very convenient to use it like that. You can find like your samples that you even, let's say you have a huge amount of samples, you can find like whatever you are really wanting to have right now. You can just search for it, and you will have all of the samples that is what you really want for in that time. All right, and you can also go to computer, and you will have all of your hard drives listed here. And yeah, I think that's it for the browser. It's a browser, so it's nothing complicated, but it's very good to have. Okay, so then we don't have anything special here. So let's get here. This is the horizontal zoom slider. So adjust the horizontal zoom of the workspace. So like this. And this is vertical zoom. So like that. Then we have a horizontal auto zoom button. So it says adjust the horizontal zoom to fill the available space. Click again to reset the zoom. Like that. And this is the same but vertical. Waveform zoom button. So you can see more of the waveforms if you do it like that. And I think you can see whatever key command I use for the zooming. So if I press Control Option, I will get this magnifier glass, and it is really handy to have, and you can just zoom like that, and you can just double click to zoom back. Then you have something called drag, which says define how regions behave when dragged to overlapping positions. So let's say you're overlapping this. Then it can say that no overlap, then it would just erase whatever it was that I overlapped here. So we have different options for that. You can X-fade, for instance, so that will X-fade it, as you can see here. Fades off the first one and it fades up the other one. All right, so then we have the snap pop-up menu, which says define the nearest grid position that regions snap to when you move or resize them. So right now it's smart, and it just means that it is pretty smart with the snapping here. So let's say I have some very refined position, let's say like that, and I want to copy this audio file, but I want it to be exactly the same position. you can see that it is smart enough to know that because we set it very like there and not on exactly the beginning, then it was smart enough to know that, oh, okay, this sample should be at the same position, and it should also be like off the bar here. And you have different type of snap modes, and you can read on exactly what they does, but I mean the smart is the best one, hands down. Then you have the tool menus. Left click tool menu is whatever you have when you press the regular button, the left click. So right now I have just the pointer tool, but I can have it on pencil tool all the time. So I can just draw out different regions by just doing like that. Or I can have it on my command click tool. So whenever I press command, it will show exactly what I have in this menu here. And same thing here, I can have a lot of different tools, but the marquee tool is the absolutely best one. You can do a lot of things with the marquee tool, and I will show you what you can do with it in the arrangement section of the course. But as it is as default, it's actually the best settings to use, in my opinion. Then you have the catch button, which says keep the playhead visible as the project plays. The visible section of a window follows the playhead during playback or recording. So if I have this one, it's then we have show, hide, flex button. So it says show or hide flex editing controls on audio track headers. Use flex to alter the timing and pitch of single notes or entire audio regions. So let's say we have this one and we want to open up flex mode. So now we have our flex mode, and we can zoom in and use the flex mode right here in the region. And of course, if you don't know what flex mode is, we're going to go over that too. Then we have show hide automation button. So that is the same thing as pressing the key A. Then we have some different options for view here, different options for functions, and edit. And there's a lot of stuff going on here, but same thing here. We were going to cover all of that in the arrangement section of the course. Okay, so I think we have this one too, and that is the global tracks button. So work with global tracks to control various aspects of the overall project, such as arrangement and tempo. And this is basically the same thing as this one, but in more of a timeline view. Then duplicate track button. So let's say I have this track and I want to duplicate it. So I do it just by pressing that, and then I will get exactly the same track. And add tracks button. That will get us this dialog here that we can add a track. Then we have the track, of course, tracks. And yeah, this is name. I can rename this. I can mute, I can solo it, I can press record enable. So let's say I don't want to record this. So even if I press record, it would not record in this track because we don't have the record on. Or let's say that we want to record 3 pianos at the same time. You can just hold Alt, press them all, and then press record, and it will record all of these three tracks at the same time. Then we have something called input monitoring button. So this is just for audio files. It says hear incoming signals on audio tracks that are not record enabled. This is useful when setting levels or practicing parts before recording. Yeah. Then we have level indicator. It says shows the signal output during playback. Watch the level meter and the peak level display during playback or recording to see if signal clipping occurs. So if this shows red, then you know that this signal will clip. If you zoom in a bit, you will get a volume fader and a pan knob too. So this is doing exactly the same thing as here, but it's a lot easier to see them like this, and you can just manage a lot of different tracks. And it's actually exactly the same thing as open up Mixer and do it here. Here you have the different numbers of the tracks. And I think that's it for the layout in Logic. Of course, there are like a lot of different options you can use and all of these settings, but I will go over them in their own part of this course. Okay, so see you in the next section.